Yes, I'm in my pajamas. It's Monday and I don't want to function. Hi everyone! I'm not gonna lie, my brain can't put this video together properly, so bear with. Essentially, I am doing my January wrap up today, except it's not really a January wrap up because some of these books I finished like yesterday. So I was gonna do two separate videos to kind of explain what's going on, but I felt like I didn't have enough content for just one video, so I'm just gonna try and explain it eloquently and briefly here so this video isn't massively long. But basically, we all know that I have a fucking huge TBR, over 800 books if we include my NetGalley arcs, so that's fun. And I have a big problem in that when I get a nice shiny new book, even if it's a secondhand tatty charity shop copy, because it's new to me, it is the book that I'm like, I want to read. And then the books that I've had for 6 years now get forgotten about. I suck at TBRs and I suck at making sure I pick out backlist titles. At the end of December, I was hanging out with the lovely Joe from Average Joe Reads, and he gifted me a couple of books, and then he also coerced me into buying a book. And we joked that I was basically just gonna read all these books that he had picked for me in January. So naturally I sent him my spreadsheet of all my TBR and was like, highlight these books. And thus Average Joe January was born, in which every book bar one that I read in January and possibly finished, or I'm currently still reading, in February was inspired by him. Either he loved the book, maybe he hated the book, maybe he was indifferent, wanted to know my thoughts, or maybe he gifted it to me. I had an Average Joe January essentially. And so despite the fact that not all of them were read in January, I'm going to talk about them here because it's kind of like, I believe it's Chandler who does even the taste tests. It's kind of like that, so it's not specifically like, oh, it's in the month. Like, I'm just kind of doing it over a month because why not? I don't know. So yeah, we're just gonna talk about these books, and I need to find my phone because I've forgotten the actual number of books that there are that I have read. 12. It's weird because obviously like my spreadsheet has two different colours because I have what I actually read in January and what I've read in February, but for Average Joe taste test inspired reading, I don't even know, it's technically 13 because the one I'm still reading. So we're just gonna get into it. Oh well, no, it is 12 because one of them wasn't him. The first book I'm going to talk about is the one that I was reading in December and just didn't finish in time, so it kind of got through into this mess and it has nothing to do with Joe, and that is The Memory Wood by Sam Lloyd, which I gave 3 stars. It was different. I don't really know, like, it was alright, but listen, I feel like I read this so January was fucking long and I cannot wait for the back of it once this video is done. But this book follows this kid. Listen, I can't really tell you because spoilers, but like, the link's below if you want to know about it. I'll also go to my next Kindle-y, NetGalley book because I'll just be in the mood to put pictures up already. What? I read The Diviner by Libba Bray this month. I listened to the audiobook, which I didn't love, I'm not gonna lie. I also gave The Diviners 3 stars. I do think the audiobook just wasn't it for me. Also, the entire time I was reading it, I'm going, why the fuck does the name Sam Lloyd seem familiar? And it's obviously because The Memory Wood was written by a Sam Lloyd, so I'm like, that's creepy. I'm sure you all know about The Diviners. Theo, please do not interrupt. I really thought it was going to be like a 4 or 5 star read for me, but as I say, the audiobook just wasn't it, and life was fucking my vibes up, as is the focus on this camera. It claims it's focused on me, except it was the background that was in focus, so that's a lie. Now we move on to all the physical books that I read in average Joe January. The first book that I read in January in 2020, and that was also inspired by Joe, was The Black Flamingo by Dean Atta. This was in the half price sale on Waterstones, and he basically threw it into my hands and was like, you have to get it. And this is what kickstarted the average Joe January. I gave this 5 stars. I mean, any sort of novel in verse is gonna get 5 stars from me. I'm not gonna lie, I can't really remember much about it except this guy kind of discovers drag. The cat is scratching the carpet, which is highly inconvenient. But yeah, he discovers drag and I loved it. It was great, fabulous. The next book I was a little bit unsure about picking up because basically Joe only picked out like 15 books, and I have read every book that he picked out bar 4, which we'll get to. And this one, I was like, am I in the mood for this? I don't really know if I want to read a contemporary, but I picked up The Nowhere Girls by Amy Reed. Oh my god, I love this so much. This was a 5-star read for me. This is all about a group of girls who basically are fed up of the misogyny and the sexism in their school, and they kind of start this club, and it's just so empowering, and I loved it. One of the characters in here, Erin, I love with every fibre of my being, and I need all the Amy Reed books in my life because this was fabulous. If you haven't picked this up yet, please do. I've had this on my shelf since it came out and I am so mad I hadn't read it yet, and this book is exactly why I chose to do this. Theo! This is a book that would have just sat on my shelf. It may have ended up being unhauled because I'm literally getting to the point where I have that many books that it's just not plausible for me to read them, so I'm gonna have to just get rid of books that aren't highest priority, and this probably would have been one of them, and I loved it. So this is why I'm having my friends pick my TBR for me, because it's making me pick up books that I may never have done otherwise and end up loving. So the cat is really fucking pissing me off. Next, I picked up my first Adam Silvera, which was History Is All You've Left Me. This I started reading around about the time things were going a bit shitty. I ended up only giving History 3 stars. I don't know, I didn't care. I don't know, I can't remember our main character, Griffin. Didn't really love Griffin. And I didn't really care for, is it Jackson? I don't know. Also, the fact that the boyfriend was called Theo and my cat's called Theo, I can't handle characters called Theo because I'm just sitting in my head picturing them as like, you know, the Cats movie? I see Theo like that, like a sort of half human, half cat hybrid, and it just ruins it for me. Theo, shut up! I love my cat, honestly. I don't know, I didn't adore this, but I didn't hate it. It was just, it was just a contemporary. You, shut up. What? I am filming and it's going to be long enough as it is without you interrupting. No, don't rub against me like you're all cute. You are being a pain. Could you go have a nap for 10 minutes while I sort my life out on BookTube before I am forgotten about because I am a really bad, inconsistent creator? Thank you. You don't care. You really don't care. The next book I read was Good Me Bad Me by Ali Land. I have a shitload of these thrillers. I class them as those thrillers. They are your generic thriller that tends to be picked up by a big publishing house like Penguin. They get all the marketing, everyone talks about them. They're like the book club books. They're the ones that like the women, like married women who don't usually read. That's kind of really stereotyping, but you know what I mean. It's just those thrillers. I have a shitload of them and I was like, I need to get through them, and luckily Joe picked this one out for me. I gave this one 3 stars. What I appreciated was it wasn't, this cat man, it wasn't a stereotypical thriller in that it was about a woman who's divorced or a spinster and she's drunk. It's actually about like a 15-year-old girl, so I appreciate that. However, very, very much saw where this was gonna go. The cat is going fucking psycho. Fuck's sake. But yeah, Jesus, what is wrong with you? Now we come to the book that I was reading at literally the worst point of the month. As in, I was literally reading this like when my granddad passed, so like that's fun. But that was the Deathless Girls, which is really fucking ironic now that I think about it, that it's about like immortals, and I read that when my granddad was mortal, literally. Sorry, I have a really morbid and dark sense of humour, and also the whole thing hasn't hit me yet, so like I'm just living this like insensitive life. I mean, it's insensitive towards myself, so it's fine. Anyway, point. I gave this 4 stars. I didn't really know anything about this. All I know is it's written by Cram Millwood Hargrave, and I love their middle grade stuff. Joe gave me this for my Christmas because he's a fucking angel. I'm pretty sure if you look on like Goodreads, it tells you what this book is about. Actually, it literally tells you like in the description and stuff. Basically this book is about vampires, and I did not fucking know that until the last 20% of the book where the vampires show up. But this is part of the Bellatrix publishing house, where they basically take these like classic stories but like feminize them. So obviously it's meant to be like Dracula, Vlad the Impaler kind of shit, but like female situation. But no, I really enjoyed this. It's not my usual go-to sort of thing, you know, and as I was reading it I was like, Emma, this is the sort of thing that you vehemently avoid, but actually it was alright. I couldn't put myself through a book like this regularly. Like I couldn't read fantasy sort of stuff like this like every single month or multiple times a month, but as like a one-off, loved it. I fully appreciate the fact that it's a standalone. That just makes my heart happy. We need more fantasy sort of standalones, and it was fairly short, so like love that for me and my anti-fantasy. That was quite a cool rhyme. Thank you, Joe, for this gorgeous book, and when I say gorgeous book I mean fucking gorgeous book. The next book that I read I pretty much flew through, and I was shooketh because I used to be the contemporary queen, right? When I first started working at Waterstones, I was the go-to for contemporary. If somebody came to the YA section and wanted contemporary, people would run and grab me. And then I kind of realised that contemporary was just not it for me. I don't know what happened, but I fell out of love with contemporary. And then Joe got me to read The Sun Is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon. Now, I loved everything. And then at BookCon last year, I was literally walking along the shop floor and Krista was like, that's Nicola Yoon, so we got a picture with her. And you know, I'd heard of this, you know, I was like, oh, it's set in New York, that'll be fun. I loved this. Like, I really loved this. I was rooting for their romance, and you know what I'm like with a romance, don't do a romance. The fucking end of this, I nearly cried. Who am I? I mean, as I've said, January was a weird month, so like, it was possibly a fluke. But this reminded me of the contemporary I love, especially because it's got like such short chapters at points. Like it alternates like POVs and stuff, which is not my thing, but the short chapters, they really get you reading fast. But this was like, this made me be like, I want to read all the contemporary. Oh shit, I forgot one of my ones I do have a physical copy of, but it's not to hand, so we're just gonna have to put a picture up. I listened to the audiobook of Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. This, what did I give this in the end? 3 stars, what a shock. I tried to listen to this pretty early on in the month, like, because Joe told me the audiobook was great, listen to the audiobook, and I was like, right, cool, I'm gonna do that. And I just wasn't feeling it. So I kept saying I was gonna start reading it physically, but I decided against that. And then I was gonna read it physically while listening to the audiobook, didn't do that. In the end, I just listened to it while I was like, fucking around on like playing The Sims. This book was, at first I can see why a lot of people DNF it. I didn't like Eleanor, I didn't really understand what was going on, and it's only as the book got further along you kind of realise that like there's something going on with her like psychological issues. The whole ending, I think it was trying really hard to be something shocking and it just wasn't. But I think what really irked me is, as I was reading it, I kind of related to Eleanor on certain aspects, and as somebody who's been diagnosed with autism, I was reading it and I was like, is she autistic? But it's not ever specified. I mean, she definitely has psychological issues, so she might not have a neurological disability, not neurological, like neurodivergent, you know what I mean. It could just be psychological issues, but I just kind of got this vibe. I was like, I don't know why it's not divulged, and I kind of feel it's kind of like lazy writing on the author's behalf, because obviously if you put a label on a character, they need to live up to expectations. Now obviously something like autism, we all have very different experiences, but you know, I'm able to look at one autistic character's experience, go, okay, I'm not that way, but I know that that is the truth for people. And I feel like by not disclosing if it's just psychological issues or if there's neurodivergence going on, it's just kind of a way to be like, I'm just gonna write what I want without it having to be like accurate. So that kind of bugged me, and it definitely kind of hindered my enjoyment. I like the idea of the book, and I do think it could have been a 4-star had we had a more specific, like, this is the situation with Eleanor. But I think the author was trying to be like, shocking reveal at the end, and that's why Eleanor's weird, and I just didn't appreciate that in the slightest, actually. This is the first I've really thought about it since I finished it, and yeah, I'm actually kind of annoyed. I'm a little bit more annoyed than I thought I was. Yeah, moving on. Next we move into February, because ya gal living her worst life in January, couldn't finish reading some books, but I'm good with it. The next book that I read, Joe did not pick this book. I picked this because I thought, as I said, it's not just about books that like Joe picked, it's books inspired. So like, oh God help me, like if Tom from TJ Reads the Stars was involved, it would just be every book that involves fucking stars. I'd pick a book up and go, that reminds me of Tom, like I'm just gonna read that. So I read Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass by Lewis Carroll, because this edition Joe and I saw in Waterstones and we were just cracking up because the Cheshire Cat has 3 eyes and no fucking neck, and it just you know, you kind of just descend into insanity. That's kind of what was happening at that point. And so a couple of weeks after I hung out with him, I saw it in the bookshop and I was like, I'm gonna buy it because it's funny. And I think, I only gave this 3 stars as well. Through the Looking Glass really let this book down. I'm sorry, but Through the Looking Glass was abysmal. Adventures in Wonderland, 4 stars. Through the Looking Glass, like 2. So that's why the book got 3. I have nothing more to say on this. Like, you all know Alice in Wonderland. But basically, I just bought it because I love the Cheshire Cat on the cover and because Joe and I thought it was funny, and I thought it'd be funny to read it in Average Joe January because I now look at this book and think of him. Next is another book that once upon a time I would have said was exactly up my street, but now it's not the sort of thing that I would gravitate towards. And that is The Tattoos of Auschwitz by Heather Morris, and this was another 5-star read for me. I hate saying that I enjoyed this. This was harrowing in parts, and I think what I appreciated so much about this book was the fact that it is essentially a fictionalized biography. And I know some people really don't like that about this book. They're like, why not just do a biography? But I found, I don't know, the novel format just to be really engaging, and I would love to read more biographies that are written like this, because I've got Lally's life in Auschwitz from this book, but the narrative was obviously, it was fictional rather than just like this happened, this happened, this happened. It immerses you because you're obviously living it in that moment, if that makes sense. So I like the decision to do that. I tried to listen to this audiobook first. Well, I tried reading it. I read like the first couple pages and then I was like, oh, I'll do the audiobook. And then I decided I wanted to read it physically. I'm kind of wishing I had went with the audiobook just because obviously a lot of these people are like Eastern European, or, you know, sorry, the cat is burrowing himself under my duvet. What the fuck are you doing? Are you okay? Okay. When I first saw this, I thought Lally's name, this cat is psycho. I thought Lally's name was Lael, and there's a character, the character that there's actually now a second book about. I don't know how you pronounce her name, so like I do kind of wish I'd listened to the audiobook just so I got that. But that's such a minor point and that's a me problem. But this, I just, again, it made me emotional. Like, I wanted to cry. I very nearly did cry. Impeccable. I adored this, like, for as much as you can adore someone's experience in Auschwitz-Birkenau. And the last book that I have read for Average Joe January, this book took me forever to read because it's that type of book. They just take some time. But again, it was actually, I only gave this 4 stars, didn't I? I did, I only gave it 4 stars. Oh, controversial to myself. Joe gifted me his copy of The Toymakers by Robert Dinsdale. This is fabulism. It is like the Night Circus, it's what's likened to, and I really enjoyed it. I loved it. Joe did not. He gifted me this because he knew it was on my wish list, and he knows how much I love The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern, and I adore this. I'm so glad he gave this to me. I'll admit it took a bit, not so much getting into, but like it wasn't a book I found myself reading like 100 pages at a time. I was reading like 20 pages and then wanting to put it down, but like I was still very much enjoying it. I don't know how to describe it, but yeah, 4 stars. This cat man. Speaking of The Starless Sea, I am currently rereading it via audiobook. Joe really didn't like the book. He actually gave me his physical copy. Sorry, I now have 3 copies. And yeah, I just thought it'd be really funny in Average Joe January to reread the book that he just really didn't get on with. I mean, I say that, he didn't like vehemently seems to be my new word. I feel like I use the word vehemently way too much. But yeah, like it wasn't a book that Joe completely despised, but like he just didn't like it, and I just thought it'd be funny to reread it. So obviously I've not finished it, but it's definitely going to be 5 stars. Saying that, don't really recommend the audiobook for your first read. I'm not loving the audiobook. Like, I'm enjoying it because it's a book I love, but I do think if I was reading it doesn't help I'm listening at 2.5 times speed, which is a bit, it's weird. 2 times speed is way too slow, but 2.5 is just slightly too fast for my ears at this point. So I'm kind of using this audiobook to train my listening. So yeah, it's still going to be 5 stars, and there you have it. That is my Average Joe January. I'm just dumping all those books there and I'm going to regret that. But yeah, I had so much fun reading these books that Joe recommended to me, or didn't recommend, I suppose. I have so enjoyed seeing the books that he picked and just kind of having the pressure to pick backlist titles off of myself. And the reason there are 4 books that Joe picked for me that I have not read is because February has picked those books also. You heard that. I am being really brave, and I'm continuing on this trend of having a friend pick my TBR. I don't have a name for whatever this is. I suppose I could credit Chandler for the taste test. I don't know. I'm just getting people that I trust, or maybe don't trust, I don't know. I'm just picking people that I admire, that I am friends with, I don't know. People that I think would be interested in seeing my entire TBR and taking 10 minutes to highlight the ones they think I should read. February gave me a lot, and by that I mean they picked like 60, but they also highlighted things that they have just on their TBR in general. So I kind of made the executive decision with some of them, and I've tried to just pick ones that they have read and either loved or didn't like, or ones that I feel kind of encapsulate them as a reader. I have pulled every physical one that they picked aside so that if future months pick those titles, I have to read them. But yeah, I'm so excited to see how this goes, how long I keep it up, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!